everyone. So now it's time to start adding our lights. Now, once you've added your main light, you're gonna actually go down to step 6 where you set up your settings. So let's take a look at that real quick. Okay, so for your settings, and you want to do this because you're going to take test shots between each light setup. So you do want to be shooting in manual mode. Go ahead and set your ISO to 100. We're on a tripod, so shutter speed is going to be really, we're not doing anything in motion, so shutter speed isn't crucial to capturing motion for the shot. So that means that's going to be our setting that really helps us determine our exposure. Set your aperture to a starting point of 5.6. Take a test shot. If that's looking good for the depth of field, then you're good. So I did that for mine. F5.6 is looking great. The front of my subject is nice and in focus. The background has a nice slight blur to it. The stuff in the front has a nice slight blur. So I'm going to stick with that. Might be different for you and your object and how far it is from the background. So just play with that a little bit. Once you have that set up, go ahead and to set your shutter speed according to a good meter reading. Now for mine, I found that, I found that, my subject has these white furry areas on it and they were getting blown out with a 0 meter reading. So I'm actually underexposing by 1 stop to make sure that I have all my details and my highlights, because remember, if we don't have details, that means we don't have data and it's not going to be a very good photo. So I want to make sure as I'm adding lights, I'm making sure to look at my meter and adjust that shutter speed so that it stays at 1 stop underexposed. Okay, so let's go back up here. Now, something that's really important is to, that's not a good place, is to make sure that your overhead lights are off, okay? This is going to affect the look of your photo, so you are controlling the light, so you want to make sure that those lights above are off. For this video, I'm keeping them on. I already recorded this twice, and when I had the lights off, it was too dark for my laptop to record, so it was having a lot of issues. So I'm going to go ahead and keep my lights on, but just know that for these actual photos that I'm showing you, I did have the lights off, and you guys should have the lights off too. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this started. Let's start with our main light. Okay, so for my main light, I am using this lamp here. I went ahead and put it at a 45-degree angle. I have it coming down from the top a bit, so we have a really nice look on here. Now, I did originally have my little stuffed animal facing forward, but the issue with that is that whenever you have something with eyes, you want to make sure you're getting catch lights in there. Catch lights are basically mean that you can see a little bit of the light in there, and that adds more life to eyes. So when I had it facing forward with this light here, I couldn't see catch lights in both eyes. I had one in here, but not on this side, which made this side look really dull. I wanted to make sure I had catch lights on both eyes, so I did turn the owl just a little bit to make sure that the light is shining in both. Now, this is a direct light, and I want to go with a little bit softer. So I'm going to add a bag. Now, I already tried this earlier, and just putting the light inside the bag, it wasn't enough diffusion. It was still pretty harsh. So I'm actually gonna double it, basically, keep it closed like this, and I'm gonna use one of these clips to pin it on there. And I'm doing it a little loose because the bulb does stick out of here just a bit, so I want to make sure that, I'm not starting any fires or anything. All right. So we're looking good with this. Now it's time to go ahead and take your test shot. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so my test shot looks great. At this point, if you need to move stuff around a little bit, that's fine. If you need to check your exposure, make sure your meter is looking good, that's fine. So next, we are going to add our fill light. So for my fill light, I'm actually just using a reflector. And what you want to do is place the reflector on the other side of your main light. Your main light is lighting up the front and it's creating a bunch of shadows back here on the back. So what I want to do is bounce some of that light back into the shadows, not to take out the shadows completely, but just to lighten them up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to use this cup to prop it up. And, you know, as long as you can't see it in the photo, you're going to be fine. So, it looks okay. I actually need to bring it closer. Tilt it just a bit, maybe. All right, that's looking good. My shadows are filled in. Everything looks good. Okay, so by adding that reflector, it did add some light. So I'm going to go ahead and make my shutter speed a little bit faster so I can get back to that one stop underexposed. Alrighty, we're looking good. So next is the rim light or backlight or hair light. All these things, what it's called. So for this, I'm actually going to use this little, what do you call it? Flashlight. And I'm going to set it on top of a cup. And okay, so let's go ahead and set this. Now for this backlight, hair light, you want it to be coming from the back and from an angle, because I want it to just barely be hitting the edge of my subject. So right now it's actually hitting more than I want, so I just gotta turn it a bit. Actually, I think I need to move it a bit. Okay, so it's hitting a lot of the backside, but that's okay. The camera's not going to capture way back here. What I just want to make sure is that it's hitting the little horn and the side. So right now it's looking pretty good. And my meter is showing that it's not quite, it's like 2/3 of a stop underexposed. So I do need to change that up just a little bit. Okay, so that's looking good. Next is our background. So for the background, I'm going to bring in this lamp right over here. And I'm going to get it as close to the background as I can. All right. So because it's coming from one side, it's lighting my background a little unevenly. So what I want to do is I'm going to use some more reflectors to bounce more light in. Okay, so now that light is coming in, it's being reflected back with this reflector, and it's filling this in just a bit. Hold on, bent it a little bit. There we go. That's looking better. And I'm actually going to, yeah, the top is a little dark, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this here. And if you can't see this, just take a shot. Take a photo, see what it looks like. Okay. All right, that's looking pretty good. There's a little bit too much light spilling in, so I'm actually going to block a little bit of this background light from hitting my subject. And at the same time, it's going to be this side, you know, this part is blocking, this side is reflecting back in. As long as you can't see it in the camera frame, you're fine. So I'm going to look, I'm going to pull it down and until it looks good, and if I see it go into the camera frame, then I'm going to pull it back up. Okay, I'm going to tilt it just a bit. Okay. And there we go. That's my studio setup. So I have 1, 2, 3 lights. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 reflectors doing this job here. The photo is looks great. I love it. Now, the last thing we need to do is take an overhead shot. So you can take a couple if you want, but just try to get the whole scene. I want to be able to see all of your lights, your camera, your reflectors, okay? Awesome. So yeah, that's the basics of doing a DIY home studio. We're going to be editing these in Lightroom, but if you did a good job, you're not going to have to do much edits. That's the beauty of this, is the better you get the original photo, the less editing you have to do, the less, time that it takes. So anyways, all right guys, I hope you had fun with this. I can't wait to see the photos that you created.